First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by WeatherRate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Well, we have another day here across the First Coast, Tim. Another day of what I like to call the Triple H, and not to be confused with Preparation H.
Thank
Triple
goodness.
H.
Yes.
Hazy, hot, humid. It was very hazy and just almost ungodly muggy out there this morning. I think the airport had a dew point of about 73 or 74 this morning.
In fact, at 5 a.m., and I was thinking about giving you a call. At 5 a.m., I think it was 76 there with the dew point of 75, which the airport, that's getting more toward mid-late summer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, I took my dog out for his morning walk, and it wasn't that warm, but
No.
it was just so thick
Yeah.
and like sticky and icky. Like, and my morning run today, I felt it. Didn't take me long. I was only a half mile in, and I was just pouring, drenched in sweat.
Yeah, we were earlier, but we were on the beach. I think it was 79 when we started, and yeah, it was pretty. Now I fortunately was able to just hop in the ocean, which felt great.
Yeah.
Donna instead had to head on down to
City Hall.
City Hall. That's quite the dramatic satellite picture you have set up there.
Yeah, well, so this was the other point I was going to make.
Yeah.
Not only do we have the hazy, hot, and humid weather through the first half of the day, very similar to yesterday, but yet again, another chance for some rain, some thunderstorms, and we've got a nice complex working its way through Alabama and making its way into western Georgia here now. So we will talk about this, but I want to head a little bit further south, down towards the intertropical convergence zone, one of your favorite spots, down toward Costa Rica even, Tim.
The ITCZ,
Yes.
and within it, as you know, I like to see if there's any gyres developing, and there's sort of an elongated gyre. And for fellow forecasters, you can probably see that conglomeration of color, the infrared satellite picture there, especially there from off of San Salvador to south of Mexico. And then a second cluster that I think we're going to talk about eventually, right, is, sort of messing with Costa Rica and the southern Caribbean. In fact, I'm checking here just to see.
Well, I apologize. I messed up the title there a little bit. That should be shifted over. But this is supposed to say Central American gyre.
Gotcha.
So do you want to just maybe explain to some folks who
Yeah.
maybe have never heard that term before?
Yeah, sure.
What exactly that is and how it's kind of pulling in all these different moistures.
Okay, thanks. So so just as a reminder, the intertropical convergence zone goes all the way around the Earth, and it's simply where the trade winds of the northern hemisphere meet the trade winds of the southern hemisphere. A lot of moisture, air is forced to rise, and if you had a chance to look at a global satellite picture, you can almost see this continuous ring of thunderstorms. Goes across the continents the whole bit. And then within those, there are different places on Earth, and one of them tends to be Central America, and the land interaction is part of that. That you can actually see occasionally some circulations develop. So a gyre, just think of that as a very large area of low pressure, and then within it, some smaller, minor vortices develop, right? And in fact, Ross has that painted there, and especially early in the hurricane season and late in the hurricane season, they tend to be areas that can then produce one or two tropical cyclones. It looks like it's a given. You can see it there in the satellite picture. Ross has shown that the Pacific is going to have Alvin, and we're beginning to develop confidence for most of our computer models that at least a system is going to organize coming out of the Caribbean, probably heading toward the Gulf. Not a cone up yet. The cone is up for the Mexican and Pacific coast, and not for us. But it could be, Ross, maybe by Thursday or Friday, a 7-day cone.
Yeah, perhaps.
Is up, perhaps.
So we were still a week away from
Yeah.
something even close to developing down in the Caribbean Sea there.
Just focus, but if nothing else, because it might be the first cone of the year, we're keeping a close watch on it. Very close to climatology. In fact, whereas some of the earlier models indicated maybe more of that eastern turn, like Florida, the later trends have been more toward maybe Texas and Louisiana. I think it's still too far to nail down for sure, but it is interesting how that lines up with climatology, isn't it?
And just a precursor to let you know that we are now just several days away from the start of hurricane season. It begins on Sunday, June 1st. So, yeah, this is typically an area that will often see activity throughout the month of June, an area we always watch and hear almost, exactly on the turn of the calendar page, we're already kind of looking for that. But we do want to stress, at least for the next 7 days, for the next week, no tropical formation is expected. We don't have any cones out or areas that the National Hurricane Center is watching as of yet. But I think it's a safe bet that Tim and I could probably say by this time next week, we wouldn't be surprised if there is an area that the National Hurricane Center highlights and perhaps could be watching. We're still, 10 to 14 days out? So these are long-range outlooks on some of these.
And I'm with you. But for instance, that European is about 10, and that's why I'm saying that if we're sort of if they're going to give us a 7 days before that development.
Yeah.
So when the cone might first go up, it could be by Thursday or Friday. They're talking about something that might form in 7 days.
Yeah.
But I agree. This is really us just saying, hey, if you're wondering what is happening beyond this 7 days, that's all we're talking about. We're certainly not trying to get people stressed out. Other than now is the best time if you're thinking about getting hurricane supplies before the adrenaline starts flowing. So if you have some time this weekend, maybe that's, if nothing else, further evidence to buy that stuff while you can.
And it should be a good weekend for it. We'll have some drier air finally getting kind of swept down in across the first coast. But until then, a lot of humid, stormy weather here to still get through, some of which we will be watching tonight. So this whole complex making its way really through the south sides of the Atlanta metro right now. They had a tornado warning that Tim pointed out about, maybe 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, so Peachtree, so at least in the area of the airport.
Yes, because the airport's on the south side of Atlanta there. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, and they do have a whole severe thunderstorm watch for much of central and western Georgia and also into southeastern Alabama. So some of this will eventually make its way toward the Okefenokee, so areas like, I would say from Folkston up to Waycross, Pierce, Brantley, Ware counties, and even our coastal southeast Georgia counties have a pretty good shot, or at least chance, of seeing the remnants of some of these thunderstorms closer to sunset, if not shortly thereafter. So once the sun sets after dark, we could see some storms rolling on in. Until then, we're really just watching for some sea breeze convergence thunderstorms here, Tim, and some convective storms trying to fire up. Not a whole lot right now. A few just kind of isolated things popping up down in Putnam County and also out west, out towards I-75. But locally around Jacksonville, you can see the sea breeze coming on in almost to downtown, working its way through Arlington right now, but nothing too concerning out there.
No, it's taking a little bit longer today, so it will be interesting since we're already seeing some stuff flaring up with the Gulf Coast sea breeze. If maybe there's just a little bit more, that gets into maybe northern Duval and northern Clay County in the afternoon and the evening. But yeah, it's almost like we're watching two animals, and maybe some scattered stuff with that sea breeze convergence. And I think with the southeast Georgia activity, it's going to be interesting to see if maybe even at 11 o'clock tonight when you're on the air, if you're still watching some, or at least some outflow boundary type stuff.
Well, and this is going to be depicting some of that. So this is 7:30 here tonight. A few isolated storms trying to be depicted along the sea breeze. But there, you look off to the top left corner of your screen, the northwest. There are some of those storms dropping down out of the central part of Georgia. We'll see. Yeah,
you can almost see a signature of an outflow boundary blowing out there to the southeast.
Yep. And into an area that has not been worked over with thunderstorms yet. So still very warm, humid air, providing plenty of fuel, plenty of juice for some of those storms to develop. So there's, 10 o'clock tonight, right over Brantley County into Camden, Glen, up into Brunswick. So certainly could see some, at least marginal, or close to strong, if not severe storms. We'll watch. I do expect the severe risk to at least go down a good bit.
Yeah.
The later we get in the evening.
Yeah, agree. But if nothing else, it's dark and maybe folks hear the thunder.
Yes.
At least you can tell them that hopefully, that it's not too bad. Ross, I have to wrap up, so it's going to be totally up to you for the next almost 7 minutes.
Alrighty.
And I'll be on that.
You're going to be a tour guide.
I'm going to be a tour guide for potentially a young meteorologist. So she might be joining your team when you're on to your 43rd year.
Inspiring young minds.
Yes.
I like it.
Hopefully not confusing them. Okay. See you.
Alrighty, Tim. So I'll take you guys through the rest of the forecast here. We talked about tonight. Let's head into tomorrow. Similar story in the morning. Going to be yes, warm, but also incredibly humid. Dew points stand in the low to mid 70s. So that is very tropical-like air in place here. We expect everything to stay dry through about 2 o'clock. Then by 3, 4, that sea breeze starts to work its way in. We'll watch for some isolated, pop-up showers and storms along there. Still not going to be a lot. We're only expecting about 40% of us to see some rain along that sea breeze. But yet again, you look off to the west and southwest, we're still getting these waves of energy swinging on in or kicking in from the west. And this is all from a stalled boundary that's just kind of been set up just to our north here for the past several days. So a similar story tomorrow afternoon and evening. We'll watch for the northern part of the Swanee Valley, the Okefenokee, to get some later evening rounds of rain and thunderstorms through at least 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Thursday, another good chance for at least some storms. I think slightly more widespread coverage. Now, I shouldn't perhaps say widespread. At least scattered thunderstorms could be possible. So we're thinking 60% coverage area. You'll see a little bit of an uptick in the storm coverage there. But every single one of the days, we are going to have at least a marginal risk of severe storms. So that means a level 1 out of 5, primarily for gusty winds, 40 to 60 miles per hour, frequent lightning, some small hail also going to be a possibility. So I showed you Tuesday. There is tomorrow's outlook. So I think for the most part, I tend northward for the best chance for some severe storms. And then nearly all of us are included in Thursday's level 1 out of 5 risk. So here's just kind of the main headlines to get you through the rest of the week. With the isolated pop-up storms, pretty much a daily chance of it every single day this week. I do want to stress, not everyone is going to see a storm, but those that do, some of them could be on the strong to severe side for some of those gustier winds, the frequent lightning, and specifically the heavy rainfall, especially if some of those storms kind of stall out a little bit or just kind of pulse up and down over the same location. That could really start to stack up some of those rain totals there. But again, not everyone is going to see rain every single day. So if you see it on Wednesday, perhaps you won't see it on Thursday. But at least this is what we are expecting for your upcoming rain chances for the next 7 days. You'll notice through the end of the week, those chances continue to go up. Friday's going to be the best chance. I'll break that down a little bit here more for you in a second. But after Friday then, much drier air is brought in. So Saturday, Sunday, likely going to be the driest and best looking days here over the next 7. And then by early next week, the humidity begins to rebound a little bit and the storm chances will begin to go up. So tomorrow, hour by hour, starting you off in the low to mid 70s, yet again warming up into the low to mid 90s by the afternoon. Real field temperatures probably underdone a little bit in this. We're looking closer to about 100 to 103 real field temperature for your Wednesday afternoon tomorrow until some of those isolated storms do roll on in. So again, about 40% coverage on Wednesday. We're going to up that a little bit by Thursday. So a 60% coverage area for some of those thunderstorms with highs in the low 90s. Real field temperatures yet again up close to about 100 degrees. And then Friday will more than likely be the stormiest and wettest day of the week here across the First Coast. You'll notice the temperature is going to be a little bit lower, and that's due to more of a just kind of the overall cloud cover across the area, the rain showers kind of dampening some of those thunderstorms down. But there's kind of some differing reasons as to why we think Friday's going to not only be the wettest, but the stormiest day. First and foremost, we are going to have ample low-level moisture in place. So it is going to be very muggy, very humid, dew points still in the low to mid-70s. So that isn't going to be a whole lot different from what we've seen most of this week, but that is one of the key things. Perhaps the biggest change is going to be our mid to upper level winds in the atmosphere. So winds at about 5,000 feet aloft are going to be going anywhere from about 35 to 45 knots. So some stronger mid-level winds and then upper-level winds as a jet streak swings on in. What this really means is there's a lot more energy coming in along with that cold frontal boundary, that's that last point there. That's also going to provide some extra lift for some of these thunderstorms to develop by the time that system rolls on in throughout the day on Friday. So you combine the moisture, you combine the stronger upward level winds and that forcing mechanism. That's why we are expecting not only widespread rain, but perhaps some strong to severe thunderstorms. So potentially our best chance to see some severe thunderstorms this week, specifically in Jacksonville and in the metro area, that will more than likely be Friday afternoon and evening. So that's going to be something we'll watch for. And then, as I had said, behind that front, much drier air is brought on in. You'll notice that here. So those dark reds and oranges, especially on Saturday, dew point's going to come down. It's going to feel a little more comfortable for you, not nearly as humid out there. And that will continue through Sunday, but we're going to rebound rather quickly. By Monday, by Tuesday, the humidity begins to increase a little bit. Our temperatures will also come up just a hair, but it does look like because of the humidity and some extra waves of energy that are just kind of hanging around, our overall rain chances will also begin to increase a little bit. So if you're looking for some dry weather, Saturday and Sunday, going to be your picks here over the next 7. You got outdoor plans this weekend. You're looking good. Going to be a little bit cooler, a little bit more comfortable and less muggy out there. So some good news if you have outdoor plans this weekend. But until then, a lot of the same of what we have been experiencing over the last several days. Hot, humid, muggy, sticky weather out there, almost soupy like, especially in the morning. Quite steamy by the afternoons. And then each and every really late afternoon and into the evening hours is when we're going to be watching for that thunderstorm risk. Hone in on, let's say, Thursday evening, but especially on Friday between about 4 and 10 p.m. Friday evening. That's really where we're going to be watching for the widespread rain chances and also some of those strong to, if not, severe storms. So we're going to fine tune this over the next couple of days as the Storm Prediction Center puts out a risk area for Friday. But until then, try to stay cool and stay safe and dry out there with any of those storms that do swing on through. Until then, folks, take care and enjoy your night.